It's a Christmas miracle for Tim Hortons employees in Grimsby, Ontario, after they were threatened with losing their jobs right before the holidays, only for the company to suddenly backpedal following massive public backlash. It seems like Tim Hortons corporate is feeling the heat. So let's dig in.
Dad, not till 7:30. Go back to bed.
Tim Hortons coffee lovers can't wait to open our collector mug.
Tim Hortons is a brand that loves to wrap itself in the Canadian flag. It's a cozy, small-town vibe with the double-double that supposedly brings us all together. But the last few years, that image has been cracking wide open, and Canadians are starting to push back pretty hard. Let me read you this absolutely gut-wrenching post from one of the workers at the Grimsby, Ontario Tim Hortons. The double drive-through Tim Hortons store by the high school has been sold to the guy who bought out the other 3 locations in Grimsby. We, the staff, were told that we were all being let go. Imagine, right before Christmas, he fired everyone, with the exception of 5 part-time people that have been there for less than a year. Some of us have worked at this store for 10, 15, even 20 plus years. We've grown up with you. We know our regulars' orders. We were a family, or at least they thought they were. The employees were told they were getting fired so that they could bring in people to pay them less. / the government can give the owner incentives for hiring abroad. The post highlights how the job market is horrible and calls for a boycott of all 4 Tim Hortons locations to hit the owner where it hurts, his wallet. This exposes the deeper rot in Canada's temporary foreign worker program, where labor market impact assessments are being exploited to flood the market with cheap foreign labor, often backed by government incentives at the direct expense of Canadian workers. Tim Hortons corporate sees Canada's unprecedented immigration influx that dwarfs historical averages as an opportunity, you see. But the public exploded when this hit and social media lit up. Even the local Conservative MP, Dean Allison, called Tim Hortons out publicly on X, asking if they were firing all Canadian workers right before Christmas. And suddenly, Tim Hortons corporate rushes out this statement. Let me read it to you because it seems like a masterclass in damage control. We have a Tim Hortons franchisee in Grimsby, Ontario, who is planning to retire. Following discussions between the 2 franchisees, existing team members were told that their employment would end with the sale. We believe this is a bad outcome. The selling franchisee has apologized and provided letters today that reconfirm their continued employment. Assuming the sale goes through, the buying franchisee has committed that he will maintain the employment of all the existing team members. Oh, really? They believe that this was a bad outcome only after the backlash hit, after Christmas firings made headlines in the Toronto Sun, after Canadians said, enough is enough. It seems more like a forced backpedal because the heat was on. The original plan was clear: clean house and bring in cheaper temporary foreign workers. And let's be real here. We have seen this playbook before. Similar stories popping up across Canada with Tim Hortons franchisees, just like the ones I covered in Cobourg and Picton alike.
One of the managers, she explained to me, because they are cheaper to hire. I asked her, what do you mean? She said, because the government pay a little bit for their wages, so it's easier for the owners.
She asked if she wanted an Indian boyfriend. And she said, well, I'm only 17.
I heard I could make $20,000 if I wanted to marry the manager's brother here. Can I start that process?
Just because your boss doesn't like the fact that an independent journalist is in here video reporting, that's not up to him. She has the right to do that.
When I pressed Tim Hortons previously in those reports for their response to all of these allegations, they accused me of making very serious allegations, yes, of course, without supporting evidence. They warned that publishing inaccuracies could be considered libel. They requested full access to all of my investigative material to respond, which is an absurd demand in routine media inquiries. Instead, corporate offered only a generic statement praising franchisees and once again requested my evidence. This is the same evasive playbook we've seen before: deflect, delay, and dodge accountability, while loyal Canadian workers get sidelined for cheaper foreign replacements. But Canadians aren't buying it anymore. The backlash not only forced a reversal in Grimsby, but exposed how deep the rot is in big corporations like Tim Hortons gaming the system for profit. We know that Tim Hortons has been aggressively lobbying the government as recently as October of 2025 for more access to temporary foreign workers, even pushing to raise the cap higher, despite Ottawa tightening it back to 10%. Meanwhile, Canadian youth unemployment is skyrocketing, with teens hit hard as the very entry-level jobs that once gave our kids their first paycheck and work experience are disappearing to foreign replacements. These are the jobs that teach responsibility and build resumes, but corporate giants like Tim Hortons push for more foreign workers and international students while firing Canadians. They claim it's about labor shortages, but it seems more like it's about their bottom line. And sadly, Tim Hortons isn't some mom and pop shop anymore. It's owned by a massive international corporation. They market Canadian pride, but when it comes to the workers, loyalty seems to go out the window for greed. Canadians saved these jobs for now with their outrage, but this is bigger than Grimsby. It's a warning about how the temporary foreign worker program is being abused, displacing Canadians while youth struggle to get a foot in the door. So yes, the workers in Grimsby, they got a Christmas miracle, but only because Canadians caught the Tim Hortons Grinch mid-steal. The jobs were saved for now, not because corporate found its heart, but because the public caught them red-handed and said, not this time. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Welcome to Your New Canada, where Canadians are displaced, corporations cash in, and our once pristine landscape becomes a dumping ground for garbage and human excrement. If you want to see what's really going on and what this looks like, visit yournewcanada.com and support our journalism on this file. That's yournewcanada.com.